Hello, my name is David Penner, and this is my Module 8 case study for EDL 853 titled Get This Child Out of My Classroom. In this case study, Susan Green is a first-year special education teacher in the rural Fulton school district. This district participates in a co-op with 15 other school districts in the area in order to share resource services such as the psychologist, nurse, and also social workers. Miss Nancy Taylor is a general ed teacher in the classroom who has a student named Carl in her class. Carl's parents have gone through a divorce recently in the past 3 months, and the divorce proceeds have been very heated between the parents and have even led to police being called on for intervention. Carl has shown self-abuse behaviors in the past prior to this divorce, but now is causing more abrasive outbursts in the classroom while taking a much more aggressive behavior towards his teacher, Miss Taylor. Miss Taylor feels that she and her students are unsafe in the classroom and is now insisting that Susan takes Carl out of the classroom and so that he is removed from her class. Category 1, which is problem identification and analysis. It starts with what do I know? So what do I know about the school district is that there's going to be services that are shared between 16 other school districts. Supervision is very minimal. That was stated in the case as well, and that the superintendent actually travels between schools within the district. And at each school, there's going to be a teacher that serves as an assistant superintendent. Carl himself has an IEP for his behavioral disorder. His parents, once again, have been recently divorced, and this behavior is now, or his behavior in class has now changed since his parents' divorce. He's now acting out a little bit more towards Miss Taylor. Throwing pencils at her head was one of the examples that was listed, even throwing books. And his older siblings also are receiving services for their behavior as well. Miss Taylor, who is the general ed teacher, is upset with Carl's behavior. She does not feel safe in her own classroom and fears for the safety of her students. And she also wants Carl removed from the classroom so that she doesn't have to deal with his outbursts. Susan, who is the special education teacher, is in her first job out of college and replacing a 25-year veteran who developed the framework for a new IEP, or she has developed the framework for a new IEP, and which would remove Carl from the classroom when he and his behavior becomes aggressive. She leaves the final meeting with the parents worried about Carl and the help that he would be receiving from their plan. What do I need to know about this case is first, what does Carl's current behavior management plan look like? What strategies are being used or interventions are being used or have been used in the past that have shown success? What current strategies are being used in the classroom to address Carl's emotional needs? Has there been any type of documentation by Miss Taylor on the situation or even Miss Green as well? What counseling services, if any, is Carl currently receiving for his behavior and his outbursts? And then also for the situation that his parents are currently going through? And has there been any formal training of teachers, such as Miss Taylor, in order to de-escalate the situation? Identifying the problem, Carl and his emotional well-being is not being appropriately addressed, and thus he is now acting out. I believe this is caused by the parents currently fighting at home. It says in the case study that dad seems very disinterested at the IEP. Mom is also very overwhelmed because she is now having to work in order to support the family. And she even makes a comment that I thought was very worrisome about giving Carl some of his brother's Ritalin. Miss Taylor does not want to work with Carl and is insisting on getting him out of her classroom. And no one seems to have time for Carl and his well-being. And thus, Susan is leaving the IEP meeting, wondering who will actually be able to work with Carl. Category 2 is the plan of action. So as a principal, I created a 8-step plan of action. The first one is to document the IEP meeting, what went down in the IEP, the decisions that were made. And I also thought it was important to write down the comments that were made by Mrs. Hughes about giving her son her other son's Ritalin, as that could be signs that Carl's now being given drugs that aren't his. Thought that was concerning. Step 2 would be to inform all teachers and staff members that work with Carl or that are going to be participating in the new intervention plan. Let them know of the changes that are being made. Step 3 is to meet with Miss Taylor and Miss Green and let them know that they will need to work together in order to make this plan effective for Carl. Step 4 would be make sure that Carl has a safe place to go to when he is removed from the classroom so that he can calm down and thus return to the classroom when he has done so. Step 5 would be to follow up with the teachers and Miss Green to make sure that the intervention plan is being implemented. Step 6 would be speak with the parents to find out if their children, and that's Carl and his siblings, that would be seeing counselors for this hard time for their family. Next would be to continue observing Miss Taylor's classroom, making sure to walk through and make sure that Carl's intervention plan is being implemented and is working. And then finally, meet with Miss Taylor in order to make sure that she feels safe with the changes in the plan and Carl's new behavior and how he's reacting towards the plan. Category 3 is resolution, and in this part we're asked to think what is best for the students. I think it's important for Carl to be educated in his least restrictive environment, and that would be the general ed classroom. While allowing Carl to be removed from the classroom when he has his outbursts, what that will do is it will remove him from the situation that is causing him to have this behavior, and then hopefully keep the safety of those students that are in the classroom as well as a top concern or top priority as well. And in the plan, what it will help do or help ensure is that the learning time in the classroom is not disrupted by these outbursts. By keeping the parents involved in the process, it will allow for them to know of any major incidents or progress that is being made with the new plan and the strategies within it. So appropriate strategies for the implementation of this plan would be to speak with Carl's parents about counseling services, offer for him to meet with the district counselor and see if he can actually figure out some of the reasoning behind his outbursts and be able to talk that through with the district counselor. I think it would be also important to meet with Miss Taylor and Miss Green in order to get updates on the situation and how the intervention plan is working, and also maybe encourage them to go about encouraging positive behavior for Carl with just small rewards. I also think that it would be appropriate to offer Miss Taylor to get some professional development in order to gain strategies or gain knowledge on strategies of how to handle Carl's situation. I also think that Miss Green and Miss Taylor need to continue to document any incidents that do arise, and then also keep parents informed on all incidents and all progress being made. Category 4, which is debriefing. First off, what I was thinking in this situation is that Miss Taylor needs to give Miss Green or Susan and her plan a chance. We do not have enough data to just justify removing Carl from the regular ed classroom. I also think that what teaching strategies could be used in this situation, and how maybe we can set up a positive behavior rewarding system so that Carl is rewarded for his positive behavior. And I also think it would be important to maybe have Carl on a check-in, check-out system as well, where he checks in with maybe Miss Taylor at the beginning of the day and then is encouraged throughout the day to have a positive day with Miss Taylor, and then check out at the end, and just to let him know where he is at with his behavior throughout the day. I also think Susan has created a solid next step plan for Carl. The plan allows for Carl to be removed from the classroom during his outburst, but also allows for him to remain in the classroom when he is on good behavior. And this will also allow for us to get more documentation on these behaviors or these outbursts and record those. What I was feeling in this case study was I felt bad for Carl, as he is obviously suffering emotionally from his parents' divorce. It was shown that he has very little to no support at home, as the father has moved out and mother is now working to support the family. And then I also feel for Miss Taylor, for Carl, because Miss Taylor does not clearly does not want him in her classroom. I also feel bad for Miss Taylor, because no teacher should actually feel unsafe in their own classroom, and I also feel concerned for her students as they have to put up with Carl's outbursts. I feel for Miss Green because she is obviously doing her hardest in order to create a solution that is best for all parties. She's obviously not getting the support that she needs from Miss Taylor. And I also feel that she is a great teacher who cares for her students and wants them to be able to learn in their least restrictive environment. What I value in this situation. I value Susan's efforts as she keeps trying to give her best with working with both Miss Taylor and Carl in the limited resources that they have in the district. I also value the many pieces of the team that will be needed in order to put this plan into action and make it effective. I also value caring parents, as it is clear that Carl and his parents maybe need to focus on him and his needs along with his siblings' needs a little bit more. And then I also value my current students, staff, and teachers here at Rose Hill, as we have a solid team that works together in these situations. We pull together a little bit more than the teachers did in this case. Unresolved issues of this case. Carl's past experiences at home and school. We still don't know if there's any strategies that have worked in the past that can be once again used for now and going into the future. We also don't necessarily know about Carl's home life changes. That's still a concern, as once again mother is making comments about giving her son drugs that are not prescribed for him. Father is absent. Mother's working all the time. So that's still an unresolved issue. I think Miss Green and Miss Taylor need to get on the same page as well. That is a issue that needs to be resolved still. And I think Miss Taylor also needs greater support from her administration in her first year in the district. And then any professional development that Miss Taylor may need for learning strategies moving forward. My reflection: how did you as an educator promote the academic success of every student? In this plan, I supported Mrs. Green's intervention plan for Carl. The plan shows knowledge of the chain of command and also the IEP process of how we have to communicate with the parents before making changes to the plan. It also keeps Carl in his least restrictive environment while also giving him an outlet to be used by removing him from the classroom during his outbursts so that other students can continue to learn. By conducting the follow-up meetings with Ms. Taylor and Ms. Green, we're making sure that the plan is working and is implemented, and then also providing Ms. Taylor with the professional development that may be needed in order to help learn new strategies for Carl and his behavior. Component 2, how do you as an educational leader promote the personal well-being of every student? When Carl becomes aggressive, he is now going to be removed from the classroom until he calms down. So that should keep the other students safe in Miss Taylor's classroom, while also allowing for Carl to calm down and regain his emotions before going back into the classroom. By encouraging Carl's parents to seek out counseling, I'm looking out for Carl far beyond the classroom and as an individual as well. Component 3, how did you as an educational leader enhance instructional capacity? When Carl is having his outburst, once again, he's going to be removed from the learning environment in order to keep other students and even Miss Taylor safe. The goal is to reduce the number of outbursts and maximize the time that Carl is in the general education classroom. And then by offering Miss Taylor professional development, I'm giving her the opportunity to learn de-escalating techniques that can be used in order to help control Carl's outbursts and reward his positive behavior. And then also with Carl's emotions better under control, this will help increase the capacity for learning for the other students in the classroom. That is my case study. I appreciate you watching. Thank you.